Every dad knows this battle. The thing that keeps kids quiet and occupied for hours, buys you a little peace, but somehow always leaves you wondering if you've gone too far.
We grow, we learn, we laugh on the track. Dad, and then what? Yeah, we got your back. Every day's a mission, but we stay in the fight. From diapers to doubts to the late night life. Real men talk, we don't keep it inside. Tune in, level up, bring the dad wave on. And what? The podcast.
In the beginning, I would like to start by thinking about how screens have become and became part of our everyday family life, including all the phones, tablets, smart TVs, gaming, etc. And I would like to start asking a question from you, especially that how have you noticed the change within this situation in your own childhood and, of course, adulthood now later on?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because when I was a kid, I remember so clearly that my dad, he was having this big, it looked like a suitcase. It was probably one of the first like mobile phones we had at that time. And it was with a big antenna, and it was so heavy, I couldn't even carry it. I have, at that time, what have I been? 8, 9 years old, something like that.
Yeah, pretty young.
Pretty young. And then maybe even younger, actually. But then we were at this stock, and he took it out of the car, and I remember to playing with it, and he was very like, "Oh, you can't touch it. No, it's very expensive equipment," and stuff like that. To clip when I was around 12, that's why I also evaluate probably a little younger than 9, maybe 6, 7.
Okay.
But when I was around 11, 12, the first phones came in. It was, as I remember very clearly, Nokia who had the market at that time.
Pretty much.
Yeah. You remember the 3310
Yes.
model and 33...
The indestructible phone.
Yes, exactly, man. And Snake.
Yeah.
It had Snake. And this was like the first introduction to mobile phones. And what was cool compared to today, where we have touch screens with everything, was that you could feel the what do you call them? The buttons.
Yes.
And under the table while you were eating, you could sit. The problem was you looked so serious into the lamp or into something else that, you had to be really skillful if your parents shouldn't notice if you wrote long messages. But you could actually write a very, very long message without even knowing exactly what you wrote.
Yes, you had memorized the whole letters inside the numbers that you were pressing up like 1 to 3 times.
Exactly.
Every time you had some specific letter, especially. And I remember those times like you were just spamming out the buttons pretty much to write one text message, and it has gone so far with development like after those days.
Crazy, man. Crazy. Also, just if we compare to the phone conversations, at that time, we were memorizing each other's home phones, landlines. And we were calling to come out to play. But when we begin to get in the teenage, and we were also talking a lot in phone, and that could be for hours, like hours and hours and hours. And that could be both in the landline, but it could also be on the mobile phone or on video call when that came around.
Yeah, with Skype and everything.
Yes, exactly. And then the social media platforms start to pop up, Arto, Facebook, and all these different sites. It's been a crazy development since I was a kid till today, where my 6-year-old boy and soon also my 4-year-old is completely capable. I gave him the access code 1 or 2 times for my phone when he needed to do a game or he wanted to watch a picture or something like that. He very found the oldest one, the both are, but to run around and take pictures of everything with the phones or cameras for that matter.
Yeah, they got into it right away.
I mean, 3 weeks after he completely memorized it, and I found out he was every morning when I slept in stealing my phone, and then he used it like to watch some cartoon or like a video he took or something like that.
Yeah,
But I had a lot of fun with that when I found out.
I can imagine.
Yeah, a little bit proud, but also a little bit like, hmm.
Yeah, I can imagine that it gives you some thoughts about like how is this gonna turn up, especially later on. And of course, now the screen time means so much more today as in our childhoods as well, because the mobile phones, tablets, and computers have become part of our everyday life with entertainment, learning, socializing, gaming, and even homework sometimes.
Huge impact then. And we, of course, we had the TV, right?
Yes.
And but that was more like, of course, when I get into the teens, you got a TV on your own room, in your own room, and so forth. It was different because then you had all the nights, all the weekends, or whatever. You could just lie in all day and kind of watch whatever you wanted. But before that, it was kind of an event. If you watched a movie, you know, it was probably a Saturday night, and there was some candy, and there was some chips, and there was some soda,
Yeah.
and
You had to plan it out so much more, and
exactly.
now you just spontaneously like take your phone or whatever up and open up an app and you can watch whatever you want pretty much.
Exactly. And that's also another concern, I would say, is that you have everything so available, so you never have to kind of wait on anything, like you say. You never have to. In the old days, you could also tell like a story. You know, you heard from
Mhm.
somebody, and you heard it from somebody that been in a faraway country, and all these things. Today, you have 30 seconds, and then some AI or Google or whatever have you given you the complete history and correct answer.
Yeah, that's very true. Like the storytelling has become so different and strange in some ways, especially if you need to talk about long stories. Of course, it's still very interesting, quite gladly, I would say, but all the information is so easily accessible all the time. It's pretty strange.
It is pretty strange, and if you think about it, it also cut away, I would say, a lot of our as adults last bit of fantasy. We are so consumed by data and measurement instruments and things we can compare and stuff.
Subscriptions and everything.
Exactly. So it's been in the end, it's so convenient that you wonder sometimes, like, what about your kids? What product are they becoming when we only were part of our childhood with screens and mobile phones and video calls and accesses like we just talked about? They have it all and a lot more in 5 years, even crazy more in 10. Like, what product are we ending up with 15, 18 years old?
Exactly. And of course, also in this case, the coin has its both sides, the good and the bad as well. Because, like we talked, they're able to use the screens and everything to learning, to education, homework, etc. But also, on the other hand, they have the unlimited entertainment, and it can really take the attention away of very essential things, also. So, there's very thin line between what is good and what is bad, especially for their development. And how do you see the side of educational apps versus the social media rabbit holes pretty much nowadays then, which of course the educational is probably better somewhat, but how you see like where the line should be drawn, like what is good and what is bad between them both, or the screen time in general?
Oh, it is a big subject, and hard to kind of compress several things that lay in this matter. And one thing is educational vs the social media is also a way where we are unlimited, given unlimited access into other people that not necessarily want the best for us.
Yeah.
So if you put those two up against each other, I would always say educational will win of that reason alone. I try to grow a very honest relationship, and I try to be so as transparent as I can.
Yeah.
At this point,
and that you're actually able to see and guide them, like how should they act, especially with social media. Because in most cases, I would say nowadays, the social media is able to give you so fictional human interactions that it might give a very wrong idea to young human being of how should they talk and interact with people in real life as well.
I guess when our kids is on social media, we are there 100% with AI generated content, and you can't tell friend from foe in reality.
Yeah.
But I have, after introducing the educational apps, seen a demand in a good way for playing that game or resolving that puzzle or what it could be. And we had introduced very early educational books, these big books you can buy where there's a whole lot of different funny assignments. Most of them is like draw the line out of the what is it called, labyrinth. Draw the line out of the labyrinth, and then there is like connect the same pictures, these kind of easy tasks. And he enjoy, and the middle one actually also enjoy very much do those. And I think that of course also promotes, so when we introduce educational apps, it's something they are used to, it's something they find funny. The healthiest choice is to use educational apps.
I would say so too. And of course, like the educational side of the social media or the screen time in general can be very beneficial for learning as well, because it might make some of the things much more interesting because they're maybe more interactive or showed up in a little bit, entertaining way. But of course, like I said previously, there's a very thin line when it's purely educational and when it's entertainment also at the same time. So we need to be a little bit careful with that one as well.
Absolutely.
And of course, the whole educational side comes very much with the age of our kids, because if they are too young, they're just too young to look at the screen at all, especially with my kid. He's only 7 months old. So
how are you doing it, like to prepare for screen time and vice versa?
At the moment, I would say I'm only trying to plan, like, how am I gonna introduce my kid for the screens, social media, educational apps, and everything. But for now, I don't let my kid watch the screen at all, especially the phones, the TV, and everything, because it has the blue light and everything, and it might affect their brain development at the same time. And of course, I'm a dad, and I want the best for my kid and for their health as well.
Absolutely. And I would say my 2-year-old daughter, she of course watching when the boys are watching a TV show or movie or something like that.
Yeah.
She definitely look at it, but she find it more funny to play, so she not sit down and look at it. She maybe running by, stand, look for a couple of seconds, and then she go back to
That's
to
so
her
nice.
playing.
So she's not so captivated.
No, not as the boys. They are like sold as in right away. And it was not like a lie when people say you get a moment of peace. You get completely quietness if it's something they are consumed about or like.
Yes.
In our case, at the moment, it's transformational robots, Tobots, it's called, that is hitting big time. They know all the names, all the different transformation models, and it's like they're singing the songs, and yeah.
Yeah, that gotta be so fascinating.
Absolutely.
And of course, like we were talking about previously, like how do we monitor this and how are we able to guide them with which content should they watch and should they not watch, especially? So what are your takes?
I was in the beginning very monitoring, because I knew, like, I said earlier, they had access to YouTube and stuff where they were not monitored.
Yeah.
At all, and that created a little bit split difference because they started to watch things on other languages, content that was shit, after my opinion, but also in other languages. So suddenly, they started to say things in Spanish and stuff like that because they are like sponges. They really quickly absorb. So after that, I changed to being very radical about it, and I made lists. I even created an app that was like kind of parenting control on their devices. They had an iPad.
Yeah.
Or have, sorry, they have.
They like only have access to places where you
where I kind of give permission to, yeah. And I can monitor the screen time. I can monitor what they have access. I can shut it down remotely. Everything.
Okay.
And we have had situations where we watched a movie. There was some animals from a zoo escaping. And then I think it was actually the oldest one that said, "Daddy, it's scary. Can we change?" And that was the first time ever and the only time ever any one of them has said that, because I am very aware of what we were watching, and we changed and we went back to that movie and watched it, finished another day. But I felt like he was able to say this is too much, in the most closest way of a healthy way to say it.
I would say so too, and that sounds very nice from him, especially that he's able to really like think about and process like this is too much for me in the moment, especially.
Exactly. But to be honest, after that half year, then it kind of slipped a little out. I'm of course can watch on Netflix what they're watching on YouTube and all this, but we are within boundaries now where I can almost on everything say okay.
That's very cool, very cool. And of course, one of the applications that I'm really pondering about is TikTok. And are your kids able to use or watch TikTok?
Unfortunately, I cannot say they never do, because I know there's family members who are promoting, and by promoting I mean sit next to them and watch, and there are some dogs, there is some,
Yeah.
So unfortunately they get a little bit of it. But in my house I have one rule, and that is very simple. When my kids is, unless I'm on the phone, like I'm speaking, but then I still take my time and say, excuse me 1 minute, listen, I'm on the phone explaining them. I cannot talk right now. So even if you keep on asking, I will not be able to answer.
Yeah.
I will be able to answer when I take my phone down from my ear and hang up and I come to you again. So instead of, stand and keep pulling me or making a situation, you can go back to playing and I will come to you.
Yeah, that's really teaching some patience for them as well.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. but when it's on the phone, always right away down, turn it off, put my eye contact and my full attention at their disposal.
Yeah.
Right away. No matter if I know the situation already or if I know it's like, for the fourth time you're coming with this one and I have seen it, or you are out of energy. This is just a rule I never, ever, ever break, even when I'm out.
That sounds very good and very healthy, especially for the kids. It's very nice to hear. And of course, like the thing I'm afraid of about the TikTok is the actual doom scrolling, especially if the kid is able to, let's say, spend 2 to 3 hours even with the phone alone and just scrolling up whatever comes next after every short video, and you never know what might pop up in there.
That was actually the reason why they got iPads, because they were sitting with the family's phones.
Yeah.
And using them. And then we were free on, it could even be YouTube, because they also have these short reels videos where you just, doom scroll like TikTok. And yes, I'm very afraid and very aware about it, but I'm pretty sure that when they turn to the age where this is relevant, like in maybe 3-4 years for the oldest one, then it will be something different.
It could be, definitely could be. And I think it's very good to think about it, especially now, so we can teach like some proper, let's say, social media hygiene for them and how to act with it later on.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's very nice. And as we are talking about the health, the other thing I'm thinking about is the actual physical health. Because if they're only interested about the screen and what to do with that one, they might forget about the outside life. I would say, like playing outdoors, doing real interaction with their friends and other humans as well. So
there's many things in that one too, but mainly I would say remember two things. First of all, they're becoming zombies.
yes,
They become completely zombies. And second, remember who put them in front of the TV or the phone.
exactly. Who has the actual control?
Exactly. So the remote control to controlling kids, that is because I know many parents is frustrated when the kids is not listening. I am too. Um, One point where you can be almost 100% sure they won't listen is in a situation where they're watching something. Mainly, I would say because they don't get the span of time to end their cycle of what they're doing, because we are too quick to judge on, oh my God, you're not listening. Oh, you're ignoring me on purpose, and all these things which I have been through myself. But I came to the conclusion that's not true. The truth is that the kid need a steady system for closing down what I'm doing now, if you could say it so. And if you follow that system and give it time, and we're not just talking 30 seconds, we can talk minutes, sometimes 10, 15 minutes. It could be shower situation. It could be going from the playground. It could be going home from school. But if we don't have a crystal clear system of how we are ending something quicker than they expect, then
Yes.
they will ignore you.
That's very true. And also, one of the practical tips I could definitely give on this one already is to set some sort of timers or routines for the screen time itself, because we all know that kids respond very well to structure and routines, as we have talked previously. So, if we are able to give them certain times, for example, when they are able to watch a movie, look at the screen in general, they're more than happy to end it when they already know how it's gonna end up if they don't.
With many other addictions also, including sugar, but it's very important also what time of the day are we doing it.
Yes.
What type of activity did we do before? Because if we haven't burned any energy, we had a lazy morning, we're watching TV up 10 to 11, 10 to 12, something like that, take a kind of a midday nap or whatever.
Yeah.
We only ate breakfast and went to shower and played a little bit. Then they haven't burned energy, and they're gonna be impossible after this.
Oh, I can
They are
imagine.
overtired. They haven't burned energy. So, but if you do the opposite and burn a couple of hours energy and come home and watch half or 1 hour TV, then it's a totally different situation, because they are relaxed. They are okay with it. Their body is actually doing something.
Yeah, they are not so overstimulated about the whole thing. That's very true. And also, we are giving them some alternatives as well, like going out, playing games, playing cards, whatever you like to do with them. So that's very good.
Is there any time where screen time can be beneficial or even promote like a healthy thing, do you think?
I would say so, especially when it comes to learning, as we talked in the beginning of the episode. Because if they're going through some very difficult or uninteresting topic that they're just not going to put effort into otherwise, then if we're able to give them some alternative options, for example, in the in the form of a game, for example, and in that way make the topic more interesting and help them learn it actually, then I think it can be very beneficial also.
Do you think that like, I mean, I don't believe that you and me are very afraid that we're gonna lose the battle to algorithm, if you say so. But I could imagine that there is many hardworking, dedicated parents out there that is using, amongst other tricks, and a TV time or a screen time for cooking the dinner or cleaning or whatever it could be, who sit out there and blame themselves, again, back to the dad guilt.
Yeah.
But because they also maybe deep inside thinking that I'm losing my kid more and more to exactly what you say, the social media or whatever it could be.
Yes, that's very true. And also in those moments, I think everyone should be able to stop for a moment and try at least to take the matter to their own hands and actually do something about it. And of course, it all begins with yourself, because if you're a person who watches your phone all day long, also at home with your kids, the kids are gonna look after you and like, no, not look after you, but look what are you doing, and
Exactly,
they're
copy you.
copying it
Yeah.
right away. And one thing I'm really trying to avoid for myself also is watching the screen before bed, especially if my young kid is still awake, because I
Agreed.
don't want him to try to mimic me and
Exactly.
start wanting to watch screen before bedtime.
There is some certain moments about my own dad where I wake up very young, come out in the middle of the night, and he's watching the OL.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of boxing matches and spear cast and stone cast and stuff like that. And if I was lucky and I said I couldn't sleep, I could sit down for maybe 10, 15 minutes with him. Sometimes he would even like hug me in,
Yeah.
And that was the best, safest feeling in the world. Plus, I got to be up at night and watch TV with my dad.
I can relate to that one as well. That's a fantastic moment. And I remember very similar moments from my childhood that I was supposed to be in bed already, but I couldn't sleep. So I went downstairs and my dad was watching a TV series or a movie. And we both knew that I should be in bed already, but I kindly just walked into the living room and sat beside him and said nothing. I just watched the TV with him, and he would also like cuddle me and say nothing in those moments.
You were like, kind of, if I say something, I'm gonna ruin something, or it's gonna
Exactly.
break,
You're afraid and you feel
Yeah.
the tension in the air that is something gonna happen if I'm gonna say something about it.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was amazing when you had like 30 minutes extra time doing something that you probably shouldn't be doing, especially with your own dad.
Exactly.
But now that I think about the whole situation, I think I'm able to give a little bit slack with it and maybe allow some of those moments as well.
Of course, I don't think you should
Restrict it
you should
completely.
restrict it completely. that also extreme things is producing extreme products.
Yes.
So agreed.
Yes.
But I think we covered a lot of things today, and about the screen time and also the evolvement through time that we started with nothing and landlines came, and then we suddenly have video calls and TikTok all over the place.
Exactly. And also nowadays it's a relevant topic to talk about. And I think it's very, very interesting to share our own experiences and share how we feel about the whole thing evolving, especially now.
If we should sum up a little bit from today, we have been talking about, is screen time ever a good thing? And we definitely would say yes, that it can be a really, really good way to gather the family on certain times scheduled. We also covered, will the algorithm win, or will we as parents trust ourselves enough to actually take control? And I think we both definitely agree that if you take control and sit down, and when I watched my first cartoon, which my kids were watching in the early days, I was like so afraid that I was gonna be bored out of my mind. But when I found out what crap they produce for kids today, honestly, I was like, game on, man. Let's watch this shit. Right now they're watching, they just finished up Avatar.
Oh.
The cartoon.
That's very nice. I actually have seen it as well.
Me too. And you know, there is some battles and some fights and some blood and some different things.
Yeah.
But the values in it is incredible. The songs in it is incredible. And it's something where they never ever came to me, look scared or anything. It's like fire, earth, bending, and we are playing outside and
very
in the
nice
water.
effects as well.
Super nice.
Yeah, and I think it has a beautiful plot in the cartoon itself.
Absolutely,
it goes beyond imagination.
It is
in many
timeless
ways.
in many ways. Yeah, but keep updating yourself, not just with new products on the market, but with the youth, because they are the one that have the fingers in the fire. They are the ones that are using the products, and they are the one that will be able to tell you exactly what is trending, what is not, and what their issues is today.
Absolutely. And of course, how they feel about the whole situation and what are their values going to be like regarding that as well.
This is, of course, dear listeners, a fragment of what me and Daniel have been through, and this is what we are going through of thoughts, process, and data at the moment. So I'm sure there's a lot of controversial or side stories to what we came with today. Don't hesitate. Join in the conversation and please send us every story, every bit, every evaluation, or every positive or negative criticism. The stories is what we did this for. Now we are here on episode 6, doing episode 7.
And the next episode is going to be a very interesting topic to talk about, especially when it's concerning us as dads, maybe even more than the kids. And it's gonna be our marriage after the kids.
There's something to talk about there.
Absolutely, and I'm looking forward to the next episode, and I thank you for this conversation once again.
Thank you for sharing.
And thank you, listeners. I hope you have a good night.
Dad, and then what? Yeah, we got your back. Every day's a mission, but we stay in the fight. From diapers to doubts to the late night life. Real men talk, we don't keep it inside. Tune in, level up, bring the dad wave on. And what? The podcast.